Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe's Classic Video Games back with another cool pinball repair video for you this evening. We have the one and only Bally's Flash Gordon pinball machine here in the shop that we are going to be working on. We had a customer bring us this. It's actually in pretty good shape already, but it's got some issues that we're going to work through and see if we can make it play better and be more reliable. It's a beautiful game. Someone has repainted it and all of that. And one of the things they did was instead of using the yellow that's originally on these, they put this kind of like a sparkly paint on it. And it looks fantastic. So they stenciled it up and did a really good job, I think. I love it. So it's in very nice shape. I guess we'll see what the inside looks like and what the boards look like. But the artwork is just fantastic. Here is the back glass. This is like, I think, 1981 or so, whenever they had that really photorealistic, well, I guess it's photorealistic, kind of art that they did, just with a mirrored back glass, and just looks freaking fantastic. And it's Kevin O'Connor, I think, is the name of the gentleman who did this artwork. I never watched the show. It's a little bit before my time. I was born in '78, so I wasn't watching TV much whenever this pinball machine came out. It's one of the ones where the playfield is deeper in the cabinet. They had already started making them with the two level playfields, and it makes the angle a little bit different and all of that. This particular one's been touched up. Looks like it had some heavy wear around the middle there that someone has touched up with something. But it looks great. There's a little bit of wear, well, a lot of wear actually around the pop bumper there. We're not going to do really cosmetic stuff. We're going to fix some electronic issues with it. Very cool. And up top, I don't see any wear, but maybe that's a thing. Maybe the top doesn't get much wear. Very cool game. Look at the face in there. I don't know nothing about the show. Ignites Playfield. Just has a great look to it. And like I said, this particular one is in excellent shape. Probably a pretty valuable machine, I would imagine. Usually the ones with the really cool themes are worth a little more, and then it looks like this one's got a lot going on, so I would imagine this is probably a fairly collectible game. All right, so I think the first thing I'll do is remove the glass, and let's look under the playfield. I like looking at them after they've been moved just to make sure there's nothing rolling around inside of them that'll screw something up. We're looking for things that have been hacked, things like that. I wouldn't imagine there's too much of that because of the fantastic job they did on the stenciling, but you never know. So let me slide the glass out of it, and we'll see what it looks like underneath this playfield. I don't see anything hacked. There's a lot of stripper glitter all over it from what they painted the sides with. On the sides, it's solid. It's not coming off or anything, but there's dust all over the inside. I don't know if you can see it, but it wipes off. So it's just overspray, I guess, from when they were doing the cabinet. So we've got that power supply board down there. I don't see anything that's really hacked up. There's just a lot of overspray, but that doesn't really matter, you know. All right, so let's look at the playfield, see if we see anything obvious here on the playfield that needs help. The drop targets, I guess this is one of those stand-up drop targets that's you hit the front of it it drops and then you can go past it. There's a flipper. This reminds me of like the Xenon era of games. This is some kind of interesting little mech here. Looks like there's two coils. One throws a ball that way, and that one would throw the ball that way. So if the ball lands in the hole, it looks like, depending on which coil fires, it can shoot it one way or the other. There's a spinner. That little face that we were looking at is right through here somewhere, so I guess it doesn't do anything except light up maybe. 2 pop bumpers, 4 more regular drop targets, and 3 more inline drop targets. Tons of lamps, just tons of them. I wouldn't be surprised if this has an extra lamp board or something, like at least that auxiliary lamp board. 2 more flippers. These are the linear flippers. I'm sorry, those are the pop bumpers. They're the linear mechs. I see that moving a little bit. He's tightened up. And these are the linear flippers. So I believe he was saying that on the right side, the flipper coils keep burning up. Usually if it's doing that, you've got a problem with the end of stroke switch. The right side flippers would be closed by this switch on the cabinet. Okay. So it's adjusted just fine. Sometimes there will be dust down here on this, like where this has been sanded or something, and then the dust will fall right there and will actually connect the switch together to make it lock on. But it does not matter if the switch locks on, as long as the end of stroke switch pulls in. So when see how there's 2 sets of windings? There's 3 wires here. There is a winding between here and here, and there's a winding between here and here. So, or it may be, it's actually between here and here and here and here. But either way, you get the point. So whenever you first hit the flipper button, it pulls in the flippers. Now this is the top flipper, the other one, there's 2 on this side. It'll pull in the flipper. Whenever the flipper pulls in, both of those coils are I got that wrong. One of the coils is shorted out because the switch is closed. And so you are just using the one winding, which is very powerful. When the flipper gets held when it goes all the way up, it should open that switch, which disconnects the short between here and here, and basically puts that winding into series, which makes the flipper a lot weaker, but it will make it where it can be held indefinitely without burning up. So if you're burning up coils, usually it's because this end of stroke switch is not opening when this comes in. Let's see if this one is. Nope. So that's the whole problem. So because of that, since that switch never opens, this coil is constantly getting full power and it'll burn it up. So it'll take it just a few hours and it'll burn it up. So how do you fix that? Well, you bend the switch. Ta-da! That's it. Now, this piece here should be holding it. There, that's it. So that's a properly adjusted end of stroke switch. When the flipper pulls in, it opens it, and you want it to open about, I like to do like, maybe almost 1/8 of an inch. Something like that. So that one was burning up, and this one was burning up. This is probably going to have the same exact problem. Now look over here on this side where it's still working. See how the switches are all bent in like that? That's so that it opens. So this one, when it pulls in, it opens. Now that one's adjusted a little bit too far in. If you have it that far in, what's going to happen is you're going to lose a little power. You want it to open at the end of its travel about 1/8 of an inch. That's probably still a little too far. I like that better. That's still maybe a little too far, but so I probably just made the left flipper stronger just by adjusting that out a little bit. All right, so on this one, same thing. Okay, so this is a tricky one. It does look like it's opening it, but just barely. Look at that. See how it's just barely opening it, and then it's just barely closing the other one. So the way this works is, that works as the end of stroke switch, just like the one we showed you there and as we showed you down on the bottom. And then this one that closes together is actually what sends the power to that flipper to turn it on. That's how they string together multiple flippers that work off the same button. Right. So what's the problem here? Well, the problem here is the same problem. All of this needs to be bent in. You can use, there's a little tool to bend these right down at the bottom where they should be bent. But you would think that these should be straight out, because why would they make the bracket where they have to be bent like that? It's just how they did it. I did a whole thing on a previous video about that. Those are not supposed to be straight. They're supposed to be bent a little bit. So now, so you're getting a little more throw. This is up. We've got too far. Now it's probably too far out. Yep. So you're getting a little more throw on it. I like that. I think that's pretty good. Notice that this one too has not overheated. That one's fine. That's because he did have it adjusted where that switch opens. This one down here he did not. So it was about to burn up. It may still be all right. Might have caught it before it burned up. But it was literally just as simple as minor little adjustment. That may have been the whole thing. All right, so we're going to look in the back box though and see what we've got to work with back there. And we'll see what we can do to make this thing play a little better. And then we'll play it and see if that flipper coil was the only thing wrong. So here's the back glass. It's actually in very nice shape. And here in the back box, it has a brand new soundboard. It's our GTO Buddies soundboard. GTO makes cool stuff. It has a brand new solenoid driver board. This is very cool. Who is that made by? It looks like an Altec maybe. Yep, Altec solenoid driver board. And then it has a Altec brand new CPU as well. Very cool. Has the original lamp driver board. And then it does have an auxiliary lamp driver board as well. I don't know what this is up here. It's got caps and stuff on it. Some kind of strobe light. That's pretty cool. So the auxiliary lamp driver board, it looks to me like all of the outputs are going back and they're going to go down to the playfield or something. So that's how they're running all of those lights on the playfield. They had to add an extra board. Okay, so yeah, everything looks cool. I think we'll put it back together and we'll try to play a game and see if we run into anything else besides the flipper. Maybe we can do a lamp test too to make sure all of them are working. It's got LEDs actually behind the back glass. So those have been swapped out already. Under the playfield I saw there was a bunch of just regular bulbs. So we'll see if any of those are out or anything. And we'll just give it a little test play. I've never played this game. Alright, let's see what happens when we turn her on. More LEDs on the top. Flash. That's that cool GTO soundboard. All right, I'm looking at light bulbs. I see one. I see two. I see three. I see about 3 bulbs out. The shoot again isn't lighting either, but they never do on the attract mode. Yeah, so it looks pretty good. It's a great looking game. Looks awesome. So let's see if it'll play and if the flippers are still screwed up. See, the top one is not working. Yeah, that little saucer up there is cool. I want to see it kick it up to the playfield. That'd be neat. Ball 3. Now, why is the top flipper not working? Well, it could be the switch down here that, you know, we had where it touches whenever it goes all the way out. Maybe I don't have that touching good enough, or it needs cleaned. Or it could be the end of stroke switch up there. If I adjusted that, you know, I adjusted it so that whenever it goes out, it opens it. But if it's not closing good, then it's trying to flip the flipper with the low power of the flipper instead of the strong power of the flipper. So that'll do it too. So sometimes it's, or the coil could be burnt up. But usually whenever they're burnt up, it's melted and you can't move the plunger in and out of it. And you will have an obviously broken wire somewhere. So my guess is going to be it's either this switch or that switch. So we'll turn up the playfield and see if we can figure it out. So here is the coil. The reason the wrapper is like this is because it's got so hot. This wrapper that they use on this particular brand is kind of, it's not just paper, so it kind of melts whenever it starts getting hot. Like the glue is all melted and stuff. Now, just because it got hot doesn't necessarily mean that the coil's bad. However, I looked at those two switches and they both seem fine. So it's strange that it's not flipping at all and that it's not stuck together. So we're going to test it with a meter. So there are 2 windings. There's one with the big wire and one with the small wire. This is the small wire one and this is the big wire one. Let's see. So the small one is 320 ohms. And that seems right. I believe that's about correct. I've done that before. And then the big one is 0.7 ohms. That's not good. 0.6. So like if I touch my leads together, I'm at 0.1 or 0.2. So it's almost shorted. It shouldn't be that like that. It should be more like 2.5 or 2.7, something like that. So there is a short on between these 2 wires. I'm not sure why that's not making the thing lock on or anything. There's a small chance that this diode's bad, and that's what's creating the short. So we're going to try to cut the diode off. There's really no way to test that diode in circuit. You just have to remove it. So let's test it again with the diode disconnected. Yep, we're at 0.7. So this thing is shorted on that big lead, the big wrapping, right? Now why didn't this one? Because the end of stroke switch was stuck permanently closed. So the power just ran through the switch. It never went through this winding because it was shorted together with the end of stroke switch. But it burnt up this winding. But like I said, it has shorted the winding, so I would have thought that would make the coil lock on instead of not work at all. But I don't know. But this coil's bad. You can kind of tell too because you can't get the plastic sleeve out. It's stuck in there. So our first sign was the melted wrapper. Second sign is you can't get the sleeve out. And then we measure it, and this winding is shorted. So this thing is junk. Now, there's one in the bottom that was laying there. That must be the one that was in there before or up at the top, right? You can always tell a flipper coil because it has 3 lugs. Most of the other coils will only have 2 lugs. So this is the same deal, the same setup. If I measure this one between the big winding, we'll do that first, 3.2 ohms. Remember we had 1 or 0.1 or 0.2 in our leads, so 3 ohms, something like that. Doesn't have to be exact, but that's probably about right. And then if we do the smaller winding, 2.2 meg, so that ain't right. It's supposed to be like 320, remember, like the other one was. So on this one, the smaller winding is burned up. So I tried resoldering it and got nowhere. It is not well connected at all. So what we're measuring is probably across that diode. The wire is probably broken there somewhere. The little small wire. So this one's no bueno either. So I need to see if I've got one of these or if I can order one. So it says AQ, AO, AQ, I think it's in. That's the type of spool that it's on, and like it's like a number that they use depending on what length the sleeve is and stuff like that. They just it's like a part number basically. But these numbers after it are important. So the 25-500 means that one of the wires is a 25 gauge wire, and it's wrapped around this spool 500 times. The other wire is a 34 gauge wire, which is smaller, and it's wrapped around the spool 4,500 times. So that's the one that's screwed up. So somewhere in there, that thing's broken or something. It probably got hot too because of the end-of-stroke switch. So this one's no good as well. So let me see if I've got a 25-500, 34, 4,500. If it's close, you're good. So it doesn't necessarily, especially when it's going on the one like up at the top, you might even put one that's stronger so that flipper's stronger or whatever, you know. I don't really like to mod things. I like to get it as close as the original design as possible. But if you've got one that's like a 24-600 and a 32-4000 or whatever, it's probably pretty similar. And you can tell usually if it's a similar setup by the ohm reading that you're getting on the 2 sets. So I don't know if I've got any of these in or not, but we could always order one. Let me see if I can find anything. All right, in my secret super duper stash, I found this. This is actually a new old stock coil. My buddy Shane got us a whole bunch of coils at an auction from an operator's stash that they were selling out. And so this is a quality coil, 01-116-1668. But if you look, reference AQ 25-500, 34, 4,500. Now I'll be damned if that ain't the exact coil that this is. So let's test it. It's new old stock, and this has a little shelf wear. That's all right. So the smaller winding is 298 ohms. Now I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, wasn't this one 320? Yes, it was. But isn't this also a replacement coil? I don't even know what number that is. I can't read it. I assume it's the same thing, but you know, this is a modern one. This one's obviously ancient. And then the other one is 3.3, which I will point out is exactly what our original one is. So my opinion, this is just my opinion. I think this is an exact copy of this coil from back in the day. And I think this is a more modern copy that's very close, but not quite exactly the same, but perfectly acceptable. My whole point being, we're putting this one in instead of ordering one. Whenever we do stuff like that too, this is a, by the way, again, this is a brand new one. This is a brand new one too. It's just never been used. The whole problem isn't like a saving money or anything, because we could just charge the customer the $15, $20 or whatever for the coil. The problem is you have to wait on it. That's the whole problem. So we got to stop working on it, set it to the side, work on something else, wait a week for the coil to get in if we're lucky. It might be 2 weeks. I ordered some parts for a clock at the house I've been working on. I ordered them 3 weeks ago. Still haven't got them, right? So I prefer using stuff we got on hand if we can help it. But this is a perfectly usable coil. Another thing to think about too is coils don't really go weak. Replacing the coil is not going to make your flipper stronger unless you put a different type of coil in there. If you replace it with the exact part number, it's going to work exactly the same. It is literally just a coil of wire. That's why they call it a coil. You can have the sleeve is messed up in it or something like that, but there's really no reason to replace them unless they're burnt up. Both of these need replaced, right? Oh, and how do I know it's new old stock? Well, you can kind of tell by the lugs on it. Has it had wires soldered to it before? In my opinion, and what do I know? No, it has never had anything else soldered to it. That's just the original solder from the factory whenever they made the thing. And it doesn't look like it's ever been hot. There is some dirt here, but that's because that's a ring created by the form, the mold. And it's just caught dust over the years. So when was this thing made? I would assume 80s sometimes. Look, it's made in the USA, so you know it was a long time ago. I wonder if this one was made in the USA. I'm going to go with no, but I don't know. I don't know for sure. Okay, so we're going to pop this in and see if that fixes our dead flipper problem. All right, so we got the new one in there. Now, these diodes are very important. If you look, you know, a diode has a band on one end. So you want to put the power to the end with the band. The power in this case is the brown wire there. I'll call that brown. You can tell in these Ballys which one's the power. You can look at the other flipper too to see how the original ones are set up. But the power is the one that's fused. Okay. So we've got that, and then we've got the two wires shorted across the small lead through the switch. And then on the other end you have the ground, which on this case is black and silver. And that's how the diodes are on this particular setup. Now on some machines it's different. You just kind of got to look at how they've done it. You can tell by reading the schematics, it just takes a little work to figure it out. And that's how they have this one up here as well. The brown is to the diode. The switch is jumpered across the that one and the middle one, and then the ground is on the other end, which is the green wire on that case. So looking at it, and I just noticed there was no diodes on this coil. They had cut the diodes off or something, or they never came on there, or maybe they sent it with it and they didn't add them in. I don't know. But you can't really run it like that. If you run it without the diodes on the flipper, you can damage the game board pretty severely. Not even the solenoid driver board that provides the power to the flippers, you'll damage like the CPU board because it sends voltage back through things and it's not happy. He told me that there was the ground strap in the head had been cut and then put back together, and that he was having weird things happen with the gameplay, etc., etc. Weird things happening with your gameplay often is because you've got a shorted diode or a missing diode on the flipper coil. So those two diodes being missing was probably any kind of thing with that. So I put them back on. Those are one end 4004 diodes. You can also use a 4003, 4002, 4001. They're just general rectifier diodes. There's probably like 100 other ones that you can use, but those are the cheapest ones. And then I also replaced the 3 burnt out light bulbs that I saw. So we're going to see if that gets our flipper going. Now again, you got to be really careful. If you replace one, just check when it pulls in, is it going to open that switch? You're better having it open too much than not opening at all. If it doesn't open at all, it will burn the coil up. Same thing up here. Is it going to open that switch? Yes. And then you see it make the other switch so that the flipper works on the top. All right, so we'll put the playfield down and we'll give it a little test spin. Oh Lord, it's a bright pinball machine. I like it. Okay, so we'll test play it a little bit, see if the flipper's working. I guess for old time's sake, I could read some of the instructions. I can't hardly read them, it's dark. Dropping 1, 2, 3 targets. You know, I've lost weight over the years, and now my glasses don't work. So I went and got new glasses. They don't work either. From a distance, they work fine, but up front, up close, I don't need any glasses. It's kind of wild. I don't know. Must be a blood pressure thing. I got good blood pressure, so now my eyes work better up close. Something like that. Doctors, I'm sure, could tell me. The guy at the eye doctor could not tell me. He had no idea what I was talking about. I'll explain it again. So I used to get glasses, and I could wear them up close and farther away, and it would help my vision. Right? My prescription farther away is about the same, but up close I don't need glasses anymore. Okay, dropping 1, 2, 3 targets, second and third time lights and advances the top target value. Okay, it says lighting 1, 2, 3, flashing arrows, lights mini bonus for 50,000, saucer for 2 times, and top bumper. Okay. Ball shooter lane rollover scores super ring bonus when single target is dropped. So that's that one way up here. I guess we need to make sure it's coming up. I think it is. Lighting the flashing amber, yellow, blue, and white buttons next to the 4 drop targets, 2 right targets, and flipper return lanes lights super bonus for 100,000 and saucer for 3 times. I gotta be honest with you people. Once they got up to this level, it's too complex for me. Like, I'm never going to remember all that stuff. Now, I guess if you played it over and over again, you're really into it. But I got to be honest, I'm more into fixing them than I am into playing them. So it's hard for me to remember all of this. Dropping 4 drop targets for 4th time advances the saucer value and lights spinners the 5th time lights the outlanes for special. So it sounds like you want to drop the hell out of them drop targets. Ball and saucer when 2 times or 3 times are lit, lights 15 clock seconds to increase the playfield scores 2 times or 3 times when both are lit, 5 times value is scored. Bonus multiplier 2 times and 3 times are lit by dropping inline targets. Dropping top 1, 2, 3 targets lights 4 times after the 3 times is lit. Dropping the 4 lower targets lights 5 times after the 4 times is lit. Super and many bonus scores are collected in out hole only. Maximum 1 extra ball per ball in play. I gotta tell you, in my opinion, there ain't no way in hell anybody remembers all of that. I mean, I know what you're saying. I know you pinheads are saying, oh, God, I knew all that. You got to drop these, and then you got to drop them, and then these, and then this is on the 3 time, this on the 4 time. Way too confusing for me. So I'm just going to flip the flippers like a monkey. Yeah. The little strobe light worked up at the top, if you couldn't tell. Okay, the inline target up there does work. See, it's up right now. Let's get up there to it. Now look at that. I'm holding the flipper up, and because the end of stroke switch I know is adjusted right, it's not going to burn up. You could literally do this all day. So do I have the balls to do that on the right one? Yes, I do. It's going to be just fine. I may have to edit this music out because it may give me a copyright strike. It's playing music right now. If they strike me, I'll edit it out. Oh, I always forget about those top flippers. Go up, up. I want to see it pop it up. I just think that'd be cool. Go up. Yeah, it did it. That's cool. I like that mech where it can kick the ball either way. That's neat. All right, I got that one stand up. You can tell which way it's going to kick by the way the lights are strobing. Also, I think we may be a little not level. We might be leaning to the left a little bit.
Oh dear. How pathetic.
Oh dear. How pathetic. All right, we're going to play one more game. The two-tier playfield, of course, reminds me of Black Knight. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Right back where we started from. And again, that's a cool little shot. You can get up to the top level with the left flipper by going up that left ramp. And you can get up to the top left with the right flipper. I mean, the top ramp with the right flipper. See, look, it's going to go down. You can tell by the strobe. You can get up to the top ramp with the top level with the right flipper through the spinner. And probably the left flipper. Oh dear. Oh dear. It's playing good and all the switches seem to be working. He just had that unfortunate flipper problem. Well, he's got a quality coil in there now. Yeah, did you see that? So it bounced and then kind of stayed there and went down. That's because we're just a little off level. So I know what you're thinking. Why don't you level it? Well, because it's level. It's level to his house, so I don't want to mess with it.
Oh dear. How pathetic.
All right, one more because it's so fun. Whatever he said. So that's going to go down. Oh, look at the clock, 15 seconds. Lights in the front. That rollover up there may not be scoring. Okay, so it's going down. Savior of the universe. Flash. Down. Oh. Lost it. Well, there it is. Yeah, I would agree. I'm not that great at it. It's a beautiful game. And it's got a little depth to it, it looks like, for people who get into all that. And it's got the great theme. Everybody likes Flash Gordon that knows what Flash Gordon is. So I'm sure that that has helped it retain its value over the years, or actually increase its value over the years. New, this thing probably would have been $2 grand, something like that, maybe even a little less. Miss Pac-Man, I'm pretty sure was about 1900, 1995, something like that, whenever it came out. Maybe I'm off, but I think that's about right. I've seen threads about that on KLOV. So I believe at that point the pinballs were about the same price. Now, earlier than that, the electromechanical pinball machines at the end there, I'm pretty sure were still less than $1,000. That was just a few years before this. All right, folks, so there you go. Flipper problems come down to 2 diodes and a misadjusted switch that can do it all. I wonder if that had caused a problem on the solenoid board, and that's why they had to put a brand new solenoid board in. Could have been repaired too. But what a beautiful game. He was telling me that he hadn't had a chance to play it much because he kept having those flipper coils burn up. And him and his buddy are really into all of his machines and love playing them and have a little spot where they go out there and play them. And he's got a whole bunch of cool stuff. I believe he told me that he had the Tron pinball machine, like the newer Tron. I think that's what he said. But he said he hadn't had a chance to play this one much. And he also mentioned that he might want to sell it. So maybe he'll reply down below if anybody's interested in buying it. He's in the North Carolina market. So if you're interested in this machine, I could get you in touch with him if you leave a message or email us. So there you go, folks. I hope you enjoyed it. Now, I mentioned before that this reminded me of Xenon. Xenon, which was a little bit before this. But I'm just talking about like the mechanics under it, not necessarily the gameplay, obviously. This one was a little more advanced than Xenon. But if you would love to see us mess with a Xenon, we'll put that video up right here. So check it out. We'll see you on the next one. Hope you enjoyed it.